Where the Dead Man Sleeps. Gordon Porter arrived one fine May evening at the pretty little town of Cantal, that lies in a green valley in the foothills down by the Spanish frontier. It was once, in the days when men travelled by the roads, a town of considerable importance. State marriages had been arranged, and treaties affecting the whole of medieval Europe had been signed in it, and within its walls keen men with subtle brains had met in treacherous conclave. Many a one had met a sudden death in its narrow, winding streets. In the mellow glow of a spring sunset, the town, with its gabled houses of fine old timber, had a pleasant, sleepy aspect, and Porter was delighted with its appearance, and with the mild bustle that prevailed in the square, where the citizens had gathered to listen to an inoffensive little band, and to absorb sticky drinks, with a view to sharpening their appetites for the evening meal. Here, then, he decided to remain for a few days, and sketch and bask in the medieval atmosphere of the place. Turning to the waiter, who had served him with a tall glass of cool, foaming beer, Porter asked him to recommend an inn where he might stay with comfort for a day or two. English visitors are rare in Cantal, which lies far from the beaten track, and the waiter hesitated. Monsieur perhaps cannot do better than try the Golden Eagle just opposite, if he will positively not go on to La Rose, where there are many fine and fashionable hotels. It is a very ancient house, the Golden Eagle, for it was built in 1528, and has not the luxury to which Monsieur is, without a doubt, accustomed. However, to the waiter's intense surprise, Monsieur gave a whoop of joy and made straight away for the Inn of the Golden Eagle. There he found the landlord busy about his preparations for supper. "Certainly, Monsieur can have a room. Here, Gaston, take the gentleman up to the big room and see that a good fire be lit, for the nights are fresh in the hills." Porter surveyed his room, a great oak-panelled apartment with a stately old four-poster bed, with satisfaction. It was indeed a room fit for a great lord or a prince-cardinal travelling on affairs of state. No doubt it had sheltered in its time many great personages, celebrated in history. After an admirable supper, Porter invited the landlord to share a bottle of wine, with a view to obtaining some local legends. But that excellent fellow proved to be a native of Marseille, but lately come to the town, so that he knew little or nothing of its history. Nevertheless, his conversation was entertaining, and it was past midnight when Porter went upstairs to bed. A pleasant fire was blazing in the hearth, and he didn't trouble to light the candles, but undressed at his leisure by the firelight. Then he threw open the window and stood gazing out upon the deserted, moonlit square. Almost he could fancy that strange figures were flitting through the deep shadows, figures of gallants in feathered hats with rapiers at their sides, and ladies holding little black masks before their averted faces, lest they be detected upon some gay, unlawful adventure. A whole world of fantastic ghosts. Turning to the bed, he found that the curtains round it had been closely drawn. Smiling a little at the chambermaid's idea of a cosy atmosphere, Porter swept them open, then stepped back, his heart in his mouth. Under the top sheet lay a corpse, long, rigid, and motionless, the linen closely moulded to its ghastly shape. The fire suddenly blazed up, and its light revealed a stain of blood that spread very slowly over the sheet. At this evident sign of life, Porter recovered himself and gently drew back the sheet from the face of the body. Shaking with horror, his eyes staring before him, he backed away from the bed. There was absolutely nothing under the sheet. Yet where he turned it down, it did not lie flat, and the rest of the body was outlined still. The long, thin body, the upturned feet. Suddenly, as though one had leapt out of bed, the sheet was hurled away, and there was a thud of bare feet on the polished oaken floor. Porter uttered a shriek of horror and raced to the door. It stuck, of course, being old, and while he was struggling with it, there was a patter of feet behind him. A silence fell, as though one was listening. Then they approached, padding softly, stealthily almost. Porter rushed away from the door in a terror lest he be seized by his awful pursuer, to suffer a fate he did not dare to contemplate. He cowered, whimpering, behind a chair, and listened to the footsteps prowling and padding about, now approaching, now retreating. It was playing with him, as a cat plays with a mouse. Presently it would seize him. It was coming much closer than it had before. Porter jumped sideways and ran blindly about the room. Suddenly his feet became entangled in the sheet. Tearing himself free, he plunged, screaming, through the open window. At dawn, his body was found by a policeman, who promptly aroused the landlord, sleeping peacefully in a remote part of the rambling old house. "Surely you did not put your guest in the big front room? Every fool in this town knows that it means death to be at night in the room where the dead man sleeps."